Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our boardroom is open with an in-person format. We are also continuing to broadcast our meetings on Zoom to provide the opportunity for our community to observe in real time. The Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District is now reconvening to open session, and it is 7:01 p.m. Please be advised that our board meetings are televised on local channel 28 on Wednesday and Saturday evenings and on Monday, Friday, and Saturday mornings. We're going to begin with our flag salute, and we're going to invite our MSC Smith Elementary staff to come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All of our actions approved in closed session must be reported out in open session, so I would ask Trustee Bueno if he could report out our closed session items.
Thank you. In closed session, the board voted in support of the superintendent's recommendation, and we received information pertaining to the recommended stipulated expulsion of student A. Pursuant to Ed Code 48918, we, the board, voted 5-0 to approve the stipulated expulsion of student A.
Thank you. I'm going to go over our meeting procedures. As I mentioned before, this is our regular meeting of the Board of Education for LVJUSD, where the primary focus is the education of students in this school district. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each agenda item, there will be a time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If a topic you want to address is not on the agenda, we encourage you to please fill out and turn in a tan speaker card. You can find the cards up there on the table, and probably hand them to Michelle Dawson over there. If you would like to speak on a topic that is on the agenda, then you can fill out a blue speaker card. I will call your names in no particular order to speak to the board for no more than 3 minutes, unless otherwise noted. If we get a large number of cards, we may change the time to just to make sure we can get everyone in. So I will let you know of that depending on how many cards we get. With that, I'd like to ask Superintendent Gibson if there are any changes to the agenda.
The only change we have at this time is on item 5.1. It's recognition of MSC Smith Elementary staff instead of students.
Thank you. With that, I am going to invite Ms. Marty Angelo, our principal at Smith Elementary, to please come up.
Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, Cabinet, and community. I am Marnie Angelo, the very proud principal of MSC Smith Elementary, and it is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt appreciation to our Learning Center paraprofessionals. I am honored to take a moment to recognize a group of individuals whose dedication and hard work are at the core of everything we do in the Learning Center. These individuals are nothing short of real-life superheroes, and in fact, I've seen a cape or two around campus. They are the key to ensuring that our students with individualized education plans receive the inclusive and supportive education that they deserve. At Smith, our Learning Center is comprised of 3 teachers, 12 paraprofessionals, 32 students, and many, many itinerant staff members. And what makes our program unique is that the students spend a majority of their day in the general education setting where they receive additional support from our team members. And these 12 get quite a few steps in every day as they're moving between classrooms fast and furiously. Our paras, as we affectionately call them, are essential to the success of our students academically, socially, and emotionally. They show up every day with patience, empathy, and a willingness to go above and beyond for our students, no matter the challenge. You will find them on the floor during story time, supporting students one-on-one, stepping back to allow our students to build their independence, and building positive relationships with all students. Their presence is felt throughout our campus, and their impact is seen in every student who thrives under their care. As you may imagine, their influence is immense, and there would be no learning center without them. What makes these paras so remarkable is their ability to be intuitive and to take initiative. They adapt quickly to varying classroom routines, teacher expectations, and the diverse needs of the students. With a deep understanding of both individual and group dynamics, they step in wherever needed, often without being prompted, ensuring that every student receives the attention and support they require. Their kindness, compassion, and positive attitudes foster a welcoming atmosphere, setting the tone for the inclusive and nurturing environment that we strive to create every day. Their contributions are felt not only by the students, but by the entire staff, making a lasting impact on all of us. I am endlessly grateful for the support they provide, not only to our students, but to our entire team and school community. We rely on their partnership and their insight to create the best possible learning experiences for all of our students. They work tirelessly, often behind the scenes, but their contributions are at the forefront of our students' success. So in closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of our paraprofessionals. Your work does not go unnoticed. You make our Learning Center what it is, a place where all students feel supported, included, and capable of achieving their best. Thank you for your compassion, your dedication, and your relentless commitment to our students. We could not do this without you. And thank you for the opportunity to publicly recognize this exemplary group of educators. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are now going to move on to our student board member reports. We are really lucky to have two student board members who are both students at our comprehensive high schools, Livermore High School and Granada High School. And I'm going to ask Addie Hart from Livermore High School to go first, and then we'll have Gabe Benitez. Did I say that right this time? Okay, to go second. He's from Granada High School. Okay, Addie.
Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, Cabinet, and community. My name is Addie Hart, and I am representing Livermore High School. Our homecoming week was last week. We had skit on Thursday, and each class put on a great performance. Congrats to our seniors who won the competition between the classes. Our homecoming rally on Friday was very entertaining, and we had exciting performances from our varsity dance team, varsity cheer team, Shooting Stars cheer team, and drumline. Our homecoming dance was on Saturday, and everyone had so much fun dressing up under the lights. Our football team played Cal High last Friday and had a great game. They play against Dublin next Friday, and we are hoping for another win. This week is Unity Week. We will be hosting events that will focus on promoting kindness, acceptance, and unity. We encourage everyone to wear orange on Unity Day, October 16th, as a demonstration of solidarity against bullying. Our teachers have indicated that they had a great professional development day with some, even asking for more training on certain topics like using AI and our SEL curriculum Wayfinder for brain breaks during class. 10 students were honored last week by staff for our Cowboys Heroes Awards, where they demonstrated exemplary behavior on campus. All student athletes will attend a mental health and sports assembly presented by Grant Parr to support our coaches, athletes, and mental health. And remember, it's a great day to be a cowboy. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, Cabinet, and community. I'm eager to report a handful of topics today, now that we are a quarter of the way through the school year. First off, athletics. GHS leadership and administration made the decision to move the football student section from the right side of the bleachers to the center of them, so that students can be in the middle of all the action. It saw a very successful debut for our Pink Out game on the 4th. Football began e-ball matchups in the Valley Division last Friday with lots of excitement for matadors alike. Varsity volleyball placed second in the LHS tournament recently. Our cross-country teams performed well, as per usual, at the Scott Boz Invitational, and now our winter sports are quickly approaching with tryouts beginning on November 4th. Now for school events. The dance team hosted a clinic boasting 100-plus participants that had the opportunity to perform during the JV football halftime show on the 4th. We are also preparing for Unity Day, where the whole school will deck out in orange to show our unity. Next up is academics. Now that it's October, we've had 3 amazing students recognized by the Rotary Club of Livermore as GHS Students of the Month. Gabriel Benitez, Delania Mua, and Grace Heaney have been the 3 honorees so far. Our AP Psychology class, taught by Alexis Bailey, had an engaging brainwalk project, where students could show off their art skills with a psychology twist. Lastly, our librarian, Adair Spence, has organized a school board candidate informational meeting, where some of our prospective board members can share their plans and ideas for when they are voted in. I'm glad I can report on so many great things happening at GHS right now. Stay classy.
Thank you to both of you. We appreciate you coming. It's a busy time, I can see, at high school. We're going to move on to our Employee Association reports. I can't see everyone out there, so raise your hand. I believe Amy Thompson is here from LEA. If you want to come on up, I'd like to recognize also Tara Lutz, who is our Vice President for LEA. Our CSCA President is Stephanie Wagner, and I don't see her here tonight. And our SEIU President is Kirsty Governor. Is she here? Okay. Oh, we have a speaker for Kirsty. Okay. And then our CMC representative is Lily Lopez, and we will start with Amy Thompson.
Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, and Cabinet. I'm Amy Thompson, President of the Livermore Education Association, representing teachers, nurses, counselors, psychologists, speech pathologists, and teachers on special assignment. Tara and I were able to meet with scientists from Quest to discuss the climate resolution. The conversation was very productive, and we're happy to support the climate resolution that's been brought forward by our students. I think a key to the success for this project is going to be in planning to create educational opportunities for students that can be implemented seamlessly without creating additional work for teachers. Planning on the front end is going to be so important to doing this well. The first meeting of the high school schedule committee was very productive. The group was quickly able to narrow down the options and agree on a basic structure. Then we got into the specifics and got a little less productive, and we needed more information to move forward. Dr. Gibson quickly sent the requested information, and she's been answering questions all along as people are asking them. Based on the data received, it looks like every option that we are considering will have a cost if we maintain our current class size of 32. One consideration is how many periods of teaching should constitute full-time. Our neighboring districts define full-time teaching as 5 periods. Our current schedule has our teachers teaching 6 periods. While we were in trimesters, full-time was 4 periods at a time. Our teachers have definitely noticed the increase in workload with the switch to semesters, as the number of students that they are now responsible for has gone from 120 to 180. Another consideration is the structure and amount of preparation time for teachers. One of the things that is taught in the credentialing program is that you should expect to spend twice as much time planning instruction as you do delivering the instruction. These topics may sound teacher-centered, but I assure you they are student-centered. The number of periods teaching, the percentage of the day in front of students versus the percentage of time preparing for that instruction directly impacts the quality of the instruction delivered to students. The number of student contacts that a teacher is responsible for directly impacts the service that they can deliver. We want to do the best for our students, but that requires putting the structures in place to support our work. Once we have completed the work for the high school schedule, which will be very soon, we need to start the discussion for our elementary and middle school. We need to create structures to allow all of our teachers to deliver the best for our students. That includes providing adequate time and structure for teacher preparation. I want to acknowledge this week is Unity Week and remind everybody to wear orange tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Yes. I'll invite the representative from SEIU to come up, and I'm sorry that I don't have your name. It's what? Oh, Kirsty. I'm sorry. In my mind, Kirsty Governor looked very different than you, so I'm really sorry. I had the wrong picture in my mind. Welcome, Kirsty. Why don't push the button so we can hear you. There you go.
Never done this before. Good evening, members of the board. I am Kirsty Governor, SEIU Chapter President. Thank you for having us tonight and giving us the opportunity to speak with you. I understand that we are unable to negotiate wages until December, when the first interim report is presented. Budget constraints are affecting the district as they are affecting all of us. With the 4 highest positions in the district collectively earning over $1 million, child nutrition assistants employees are making $20.37 per hour. The custodian 1 is making $23.59 an hour. New management was hired at high wages. Some management received higher raises that are twice what some in the district are making in a year. Hiring new management people and giving raises to other management was important to you. It was important to find the money for that during the financial hardships. I'm here to say to you all that we are important too. We clean the campuses, we feed the kids, we watch them on the playgrounds, we teach them, and we care for them. Our school district doesn't run without all of us together. We are all a piece of a puzzle that builds the school district, and without one piece of that puzzle, the school district cannot run effectively. Employees that you don't have money for are just as important as the management that has already received the money. We need to be able to negotiate on our non-economic items, and we have met our obligations to sunshine these articles. These negotiations that are not happening and bargaining that is not happening in good faith is affecting our members, and they deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kirsty. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our communication from the public. Communication from the public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. The board may listen to the comment and ask staff clarifying questions, but they will neither discuss nor take action at this meeting on topics that are not on the agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. if you would like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now is the time to do so. We are going to ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that each speaker may speak one time. So what I'm going to do, I have some cards here. I will call you up one at a time, and then I'll say who's on deck. If I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. Just repeat it for us when you come up here. And you'll see up on the board, we have the 3 minutes. And I will probably remind you when we get down to 30 seconds that your time is coming. I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to make sure that you know that your time is coming to a close. And then I would also ask the people in the audience to hold their applause so that we can make sure we can hear every word that the people say. It's really important that we can hear everything. And then we'll invite the next person to come up. All right? So we'll begin. We'll start first with Sabrina Hawkins, and we'll have Janet Zimmerman on deck.
Hello.
Welcome.
It's Sabrina Hankins, just so you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. This is my first time doing this, so I'm a little nervous. Okay, so I'm here to, it seems so loud. So I'm here to talk about health insurance. That's a big concern for our members. The district has not contributed to our insurance for over 10 years. And again, we're going to talk about the district, how we need to cut $4 million to balance our budget. And then we need to cut, 2025 year budget. All the while, again, we're going to talk about how the executive cabinets have received significant raises and that we have members here that are working 2 to 3 jobs just to support their family and to have health insurance, which is, we all know, a lot. And just, it's appalling how we're not getting what we need, and the district is treating us this way when you guys have a lot of hardworking, dedicated employees that have given a lot of their time and energy for our kids, for all of us. And I just feel like we deserve more. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. If Janet could come up. And then I have Kirsty Governor. You already did yours. Okay. Sorry, Janet, before you begin, just Jeff Zaragoza is going to be on deck. Okay, Janet, you can go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I work at Christensen. I'm a child nutrition person, and I wanted to talk a little bit about workplace conditions that are everybody's dealing with. We have a lot of outdated equipment, ovens, just stupid stuff like turning them on and off is really hard. There's knobs missing. We're constantly having issues. Our sinks are too deep for short people. They constantly leak, or they don't hold water when we need them to. We have no one sharpening our knives, little simple things that are our equipment every day. I mean, I work with produce a lot. We are given box cutters that are not without safety, which I feel is very important. Pizza pans, oh my gosh. So some have lips, some don't. And I know it sounds dumb, but like to pull them out of the oven, our mitts are going in the cheese to pull them out. We need tools to properly take, the pans in and out. Pot holders, they're thin, they're worn, we're getting burnt through them. We need new ones. I know that all this costs money, but we need these tools to do our job effectively. And, our kitchen also gets really hot. When we had super hot temperatures, our principal came in and brought us fans, which was really cool. But I don't know why my department's not supplying those things for us. And I just wanted to touch base really quick on a little bit of wages. I don't feel that we make enough to sustain a home, to raise a family. I know coworkers that are working 2 to 3 jobs, and I know that was already said. I know we're all a piece of a puzzle together, but I work my butt off at a production kitchen, hundreds of meals a day, and I feel like I deserve more, so I can live in this town that I grew up in. I went to this school district, and, I hear we don't have money to give raises and improve workplace conditions, yet how there are people that are getting hefty raises in this in the district. And so I just want to end with, I was told that we're the largest restaurant in town because we serve all these kids. And I just have to say, think about if we were to go on strike, because we want better benefits, better wages, so we can be comfortable, just like all the top paid people in the district. We're not asking for much, just a little bit.
Thank you. I'll invite Jeff to come up and sure. Cher, do you want to, is it Cher? Cher, come on up first and then Jeff next. That's fine. Yep. It's okay. Don't be nervous. Put that as close to you can as when you're speaking into the microphone so we can hear you. Yeah, we just want to make sure we can hear you. Don't be nervous. We're just chilling. We're good. There you go. Now you got it.
Good evening. My name is Cher, a long-term resident and Granada High alumni. As we approach the school board elections, I have struggled with the thought of one candidate in particular representing the students and the community. It is extremely painful for me to publicly talk about my experience, but I feel it is important enough for everyone to know my story. Christian Vanden Heuvel claims to be a champion of family, church, and school values, as well as a special needs advocate. But I know firsthand that couldn't be further from the truth. As someone who's struggled my whole life with Tourette's syndrome, I have had to live with the pain of being discriminated by Christian Vanden Heuvel himself. He has told me to my face that I didn't fit the image in his church, a place where I thought I would be most inclusive and accepting. His reasoning was that I would make the church and the community and the church uncomfortable. Worse, I was publicly humiliated when he proceeded to kick me out of a Sunday service at Cornerstone Fellowship in 2015. From that moment, I've had to live with extreme depression and many years of pain from an adult I really respected. I not only felt hurt and shame, but also confused because I thought that he was someone who was looking out for my best interest. He claimed to be somebody to care about all people. His actions were devastating, inappropriate, and hypocritical. I have really come a long way in my life to feel the courage to ask the district and the current board in this type of representation, is this what we want for our schools? Will he really ensure the safety and inclusivity and equality for our students and faculty and parents? I am living proof his actions show otherwise. As a pastor, he showed favoritism and discrimination. This makes me and the special needs community question what he will do when faced with budget cuts and the special needs programs are on the line. How will he prioritize the true needs of students over his ego and his own self-interest? If you want safe, inclusive schools, I urge you, do not elect Christian Vanden Heuvel. His words and actions do not align. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll invite Jeff up. And then on deck, we'll have Nancy Crisp.
Good evening, board members.
Oh, sorry, hang on just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to ask one thing of the folks in the crowd, and I know that we get behind it, but I've been in these meetings for a long time. It's really hard to speak in public if you haven't done so before. It's really hard. And it creates a lot of anxiety for people because on the flip side of people clapping, people may not approve of you. And so if you agree with who the speaker is, maybe just put your hand up so it's more of a silent thing. I know sometimes it's hard to, because we're involved in it. It's just a request. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just a request because it's really, really difficult to get the courage to come up here and speak. And so that emotion behind you sometimes prevents people from coming up. That's all.
All right, thank you.
Anyway,
Go
I'm
ahead, Jeff.
Jeff, and good evening, school board members, President Prusso, Superintendent Gibson. I'm here to support and defend our friend and sister who many of us have come to both love and know quite well. She was clearly a victim of harassment. When we met her, she was traumatically affected by extremely hurtful and humiliating words by Christian Vanden Heuvel of Cornerstone Fellowship Church. Since the Independence newspaper discriminately and obviously biased chooses to keep the truth out about the Board of Education endorsed candidates, we must come in this and state these truthful characteristics of individuals that certainly should not represent our parents and most especially our children. For the life of me, as I am still struggling with anyone who claims to be a Christ follower, let alone a pastor of children's ministry at a local church, and would have the audacity to verbally abuse and tear down anyone, I share this because this type of talk and behavior is bullying. Bullying words along with verbal, mental attacks is destructive toward anyone. I am very aware of these tactics and behaviors, and I'm putting Christian Vandenheuvel on notice. How can anyone even consider this man a candidate for any leadership? He clearly is not clearly not for the protection of our children and is the real wolf in sheep's clothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll invite Nancy. Do I have Nancy? Nancy Crisp. Okay. And then on deck, we'll have Catherine. I just have a first name on that. Nancy, can you pull that down and then push a button at the bottom? There you go.
I've gotten to know Cher through my church, but she also happens to have met my daughter through Las Positas College. My daughter has mild cerebral palsy and learning disabilities, and she worked very hard to get certified in child care through Chabot College, and she worked for quite a few years for a woman running for mayor in Tracy until she got in an auto accident and couldn't continue. But she has mild cerebral palsy and did very well in child care. And people with disabilities are valuable, and they can be loving and kind, as is Cher. And it kills me that this girl was hurt so badly that it took our church and people who love her to rehabilitate her and make her feel valued and cared for again. And I can't believe somebody that's running for the school board feels that he has the right to be on the school board. We don't know what's in his head and what he could do to hurt other people with disabilities or where he would go, but he does not belong on the school board. Why would he even think that he could hurt this person? It frightens me that he could have that kind of power. And I want people to think very seriously why he thinks he's qualified to hold that position, really. And that's what I want to say, because I wouldn't want my daughter hurt the way this girl was hurt. Her self-esteem was really low until she came to us. And I thank God she's with us now. She's a wonderful person. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Catherine. Oh, welcome, Catherine.
I have a friend who was taken away from a volunteer position at Junction School, and I think it was done wrongly, like an opponent for the school board election notified. I don't know who, if it was here or a superintendent of schools, but just because her son didn't go there anymore and they're shorthanded, and the person that had her taken away from that volunteer position did not even volunteer to take her place, whereas she has 2 sons that go to that school. And I was just thinking that maybe there could be something done about that they would accept volunteers on a more kind basis. And also, I think that the same person has no business making fun of my friend for being short. And I think that's not a qualification for being on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That concludes our correspondence, our public comment, and we're just going to move into our correspondence. So just for information, formal written correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after that cutoff time will generally be acknowledged at the following meeting. I believe we don't have any correspondence this week.
No, we don't.
Okay, so we'll move on to our discussion action items. We have a public hearing.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I can do a quick background
Yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
tee it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether I think our tech team over here is going to work to get
Okay.
Mr. Johnson up on the screen for us. So at the last board meeting, the board formally approved a resolution to move us to by trustee areas. This is the first formal public hearing that we will hold. We will have a total of 4. We have one tonight, one on Thursday, 2 in November, and then the final discussion will be at our December board meeting. At that final meeting is when the board will formally approve the by trustee area map. This meeting and the next meeting are just information only about the process, some data that will be presented by the demographer. The third and fourth public hearing will include sample maps. We welcome all public comment from the community. On the website, we have a whole page dedicated just to this topic. And during the process, as we've been, I want to send out a huge thank you to Mrs. Dawson for putting together the webpage for us. On the webpage, there is a Google form for any comments, questions, statements, whatever the community would like to submit. We ask that you use that form. It'll allow us to provide additional answers in our FAQ that is currently on the website. We are starting to get more questions around what happens in 2026. I had to actually map it out for what happens in 2026, depending on where everyone lies. But just as a reminder to the public, as we're looking at the mapped areas, by law, we cannot place any current board member on the map and make decisions around that. So I just want to make that very clear. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over until we get to the final mapping, because I want to make that very clear that we do not create that based on that. So I will now pass it over. Well, actually, I'm going to first have you open the public hearing, and then we're going to pass it over, and I would like to introduce Doug Johnson, who's the demographer for the district.
Okay. So I am going to open the public hearing, and we're going to have some information, and then I will have time for comments if anyone has any comments or questions before I close the public hearing.
Correct.
So now I will turn the time over to our demographer.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you virtually this evening. And again, I'm Doug Johnson from National Demographics Corporation, perhaps better known as NDC. And just very briefly, we have worked in this field since 1979, and we've done about 600 of these districting or redistricting projects with nearly 500 different jurisdictions across the state. So we've done this a lot. And every project is different, just like every school district and city and county is different. So we're very excited to be working with Livermore on this effort. I do have a PowerPoint, so let me share my screen here. And it involves a little bit of background on the law and the issue in general. And then I'll get into the timeline and specific demographics about your district, and then what we're looking for in these initial hearings and what will happen later on as well. So with that, I will jump in. And first of all, what we're talking about is how the board is elected. So we'll be drawing a lot of maps, and we do want to assure folks, whatever maps you see have no impact on where anyone goes to school. So these maps are only for the election of the board members. And what we're looking at is transitioning from the current at-large system where candidates can live anywhere and everyone votes for the whole board into what's called a by-trustee area system, where the district will be divided up into trustee areas, and each trustee area will elect someone from that area to represent it on the board. There's also a system you may hear about at some point about from trustee area or residence trustee areas, where people have to live in a given area, but they still run district-wide. Though there are very few of those systems, and they're kind of fading away because under this new law, or relatively new law, those are treated the same as at large. So those offer no safe harbor from a potential legal challenge. And what's driving all this is the California Voting Rights Act, which was adopted in 2002, and which the legislature adopted really to push fairly strongly jurisdictions towards by district, or in the case of schools, by trustee area elections. We won't go into a lot of detail about the law, but folks are almost certainly familiar with the Federal Voting Rights Act, which passed in 1965 and has been one of the most effective pieces of law in the history of the country. And under that law, there were 4 tests that a jurisdiction had to fail before the law forced you into by district elections. What California did is it made it much easier for a plaintiff to bring a challenge. So of those 4 tests, California eliminated 2 of them. So under federal law, the protected class, be it Latinos or African Americans or Asian Americans or Native Americans, that protected class had to be big enough to be a majority of one of the districts or trustee areas that were drawn. That limited the places where you could bring a challenge to places where there was a fairly large population of a given protected class. So that requirement is now gone under the California law. The federal law also required plaintiffs to show that race was a factor, either overtly or covertly, in how people voted. Couldn't just be kind of correlation. There actually had to be like direct or subterfuge racial appeals in elections. And that was hard for plaintiffs to prove. And so California got rid of that test. And now all that remains is a statistical analysis. So we look at precinct election results and try to infer from that how different ethnic blocks vote. And then we look if one of the protected class preferred candidates is losing because of that block voting, then the law finds you in violation. So it's purely a statistical test now. No need to show discrimination or prejudice or anything like that. It can be pure correlation, but under the law that would be sufficient. As long as it shows that there is that racially polarized voting, and that racially polarized voting is diluting the protected class's ability to elect or even to just influence the election. So a lot of detail, a lot of legalese, but in a nutshell, California made it really, really easy for plaintiffs to bring these challenges. And the result has been a huge change. So you can see in the top left, the numbers as we've tallied them, and we're probably missing some, is that just since this law took effect in 2003, we've already seen 328 school districts change their election system, 46 community college districts, 200 cities have switched. And just to put this in context, before 2002, there were only 29 cities that had by-district elections. So we've gone from 29 to 229 now. And then it mentions 1 county board of supervisors because there was only 1 left that wasn't already by district. So now all the counties are by district. And we're seeing more and more challenges in water and hospital and other kinds of special districts, 73 that we know of so far. And I want to emphasize that it's not that these hundreds of jurisdictions were violating anyone's voting rights or committing any civil rights violations. What's been driving the overwhelming majority of these numbers is the financial penalties involved. When jurisdictions try to fight the cases, it costs millions of dollars to defend yourself, and you don't get that back. So even if you defend yourself successfully, the plaintiffs don't refund those costs. Those are sunk costs out of your general fund. And so far, no one has won a case. There's only been 4 or 5, depending on how you count them. And so far, the plaintiffs have won every one. And you can see on the right-hand side, the settlements and fee awards are in the millions of dollars often. So that's what's driving these numbers, is the potential financial liability. So by doing it this way, before you get sued, you avoid all of those 6- and 7-figure expenses to your general fund. So that's a little bit of introduction. Getting back into the process, as you just heard, it starts with tonight's hearing and with a follow-up session, which will be the exact same information. The 17th is really planned for anyone who missed it tonight but wanted to catch it. So really introducing the issue, informing the public about the issue, and then asking folks for their feedback and input, as I'll talk about it later on in this presentation. After those two hearings, then we'll draft some maps. Those will be posted at least a week before the third hearing. And then on the November 7th will be that third hearing to talk about the draft maps. So that'll be the first public discussion of actual potential maps. And then we'll take the input from that hearing, make any revisions that the board requests at that meeting, have an updated set of draft maps for November 18th. And that's really the last chance to provide feedback and request changes. Because the maps have to be posted 7 days before each of these hearings. So on the 10th will be the final vote by the board. And this is an interesting issue in that it's an unusual issue. The board's vote is not final. So then the issue then goes to what's called the County Committee on School District Organization that will hold its own hearing, and they give the final approval to the map and to making the change. So that's the process. It does go pretty fast. That's because of the statute. So California law, unless a potential plaintiff grants you an extension, you really are stuck in the safe harbor of 90 days to get this whole thing done. The state also prescribes some pretty strict criteria. You can see them here. So we've got first in the left are federal laws. We have to have an equal number of people in each trustee area, and it is total people. So it's not registered voters. It's the number of people counted in the 2020 census that count for equal population. Then we have to make sure that the draft plans all comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act and avoid racial gerrymandering. And of course, we'll make sure that all the drafts we show you are fine on both of those counts. Then where the challenge really comes in is California has a prescribed list of criteria that you see in the middle. And these are prioritized in the following order. So first is the districts have to be contiguous. So all the pieces of a given trustee area have to touch. The second, we want to, as much as possible, avoid dividing any neighborhoods or communities of interest. And I'll come back to what those are again later on in this presentation. But that really is the primary goal, is to keep neighborhoods and communities together. The third criteria is to avoid dividing cities or what are called census-designated places, or in this case, minimizing the division of cities and census-designated places because the city is too big to be one trustee area. So we need to minimize the number of divisions to your only city. And then after that, fourth comes follow easily identifiable boundaries like freeways, railroad tracks, rivers, lakes, that kind of thing. And the last state criterion that's considered is try to be compact. And the state defines that as don't bypass one group of people in order to bring a more distant group of people. I should note that's unless you're trying to achieve a higher priority. So if you have a funny shaped neighborhood, that's okay, because the neighborhood unity is a higher priority than being compact. And then as you just heard from the superintendent, there's a very strict prohibition in the state law that you see here. It says you shall not adopt election district boundaries for the purpose of favoring or discriminating against an incumbent, against a political candidate or a political party. So the way we avoid this is we don't look at them. So I don't know where the board lives. We won't be putting out maps that show where the board members live, and the maps will not be drawn in order to favor or discriminate against any board member or potential candidate or political party. Then if you have two or more maps that are completely equal on all of those considerations, which is very rare, then you can look at where there might be future population growth between now and when the next census happens in 2030. So that's a consideration that's in the list, but we almost never get to that one because there's so many criteria above it. So There are a lot of numbers involved in this process. I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but I want you to get a flavor of what you'll see through the process. Number one, the equal population at the top left, total population according to the 2020 census as adjusted by California is just over 90,000. And as you can see at the left, that means our goal is for each trustee area to have right about 18,171 people. There's a little bit of play in that, a couple of percentage each way, but it really is a very strict consideration. Then we have data on citizens of voting age, on registration and turnout numbers from the Census Bureau and from the state. Those are used for ensuring that we're complying with the Federal Voting Rights Act when we draw these lines. And then on the right, you'll see numbers about age, language spoken at home, income levels, and one that gets a lot of attention often is housing stats. You can see in the bottom right, we have a percentage of renters and percentage of owner-occupied housing. A little bit above that, you will also see a child in household, indicating what percentage of households have a child under 18 still living at home. And so I'll show you some maps of these data, but for every trustee area and every map, we will generate all of this data. So if anyone has a particular interest, they can look at the different maps and see which map they think best meets their particular concern. And of course, we do map all that data. You can see here in terms of the Voting Rights Act considerations, we've got Latino CVAP, that's Citizen Voting Age Population. So that's data from the Census Bureau, and it's the courts look at that as the measure of eligible voters. And so you can see the colorings, the key is down the bottom right. The red are census blocks that are 75% or more Latino by eligible voters. Yellow is 50 to 75, green 35 to 50, and so on down to the purples. So you can really see there's a little bit of concentration, mainly around Olivina Avenue in Livermore. Get a little bit of it up by the freeway too, where you see some reds and yellows, but there are not huge numbers down there. And then out in the rural areas, you can see in the map to the left, there are a couple of red census blocks, but those only have a couple of people in them, so they're not really going to impact the demographics of a full election trustee area. It's really that area around Olivina that we want to keep together in one trustee area. Similarly, Asian Americans, we get a little bit just south of the freeway over in the east end of Livermore. And of course, Pleasanton is a small population, but the little bit of Pleasanton that's in the district is heavily Asian American. So we'll want to keep that together, both because of the voting rights concerns and because they meet that requirement of minimize the divisions of cities. And the last, we also look at African Americans, but there's really no concentration. We get a couple of census blocks that pop up as green or red, but they have really just less than 10 or so people in each one of those. So you obviously have African Americans in the district, they're just not concentrated in any one location. And then looking at other socioeconomics, you can see the child at home. Again, the blues and purples have fewer of the households have a child at home. The reds and yellows are more likely to have a child in the home. And so it's kind of spread out. You can see it varies somewhat by census block group, but it's not like there's north of the railroad and south of the railroad or north of the freeway and south of the freeway kind of issues. Similarly, you can see the renters in the bottom, definitely concentrated much more in the center of town than other parts of town. So that's a possible community of interest to consider when evaluating the draft maps. And then household income in the top right. This is average household income over $75,000 per year. Not a lot of variation. Again, that renter area, the central part, a little more coloring that's low, but we don't see a huge stark income difference across the district. So that's a lot of data, and you can look at these considerations if you consider them definitions of neighborhoods or communities of interest, but you don't have to look at the factors I have on the screen right now if you don't think those are really definitions of neighborhoods or communities that are useful for the school district. So now we get to the part where we're looking for community input. And so I mentioned we're looking for community input in particular on what are your neighborhoods and what are your communities of interest. So we're looking to define neighborhoods by people telling us, how do you describe what part of town you live in? And what are the geographic boundaries of that? We can't map something unless we know where the geographic boundaries are. And the boundaries can be whatever people think they are. Even people in the same neighborhood might disagree. That's okay. We look for all of that input. And then finally, this community of interest question. What is a community of interest? It can be larger or more spread out than a neighborhood. But it's a group that shares a common social or economic interest and that should be included within a single district, or in this case, a single trustee area, for purposes of effective and fair representation. So that's the language right out of the law. So it can be anything. It can be, people. One thing that comes up often is people who speak Spanish at home and may be more in need of translation services for school activities. They could be a community of interest. It could be spread out. But that's where we get this question of, do you want them put together in one trustee area in order to maximize their voice in that trustee area? That's certainly a possibility. Alternatively, some groups do want to be in multiple trustee areas so that they can influence multiple elections. They would not define themselves as a community of interest because they would not say that they would benefit from being put together in one trustee area. And the key thing at the bottom here, again, reinforcing, your definition of community interest cannot be related to an incumbent, a party, or a candidate. So it can't be that we all like board member X, so please keep us together as a community of interest. That is disqualified and barred under the law. So it's a lot of information. We are looking for this input on what are the neighborhoods and communities of interest. And then later on in the process, we'll be looking obviously for feedback on the specific maps. And that is usually when we get a lot more interest, because it's a lot easier to respond to a specific map than to this very general idea of neighborhoods and communities of interest. But we welcome any input folks want to share tonight. And as you just heard, there's a very good website. You go to the district website right on the home page, you scroll down a little bit, there's a link to the information about trustee area elections. And of course, this district is very open to input. So we've got phone number and email address where folks who may not have a thought tonight can share their input tomorrow, the next day, or at any point in this process. So with that, I will stop sharing, although I can bring any of this back up, and happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay, thank you. I have no blue cards on this item. Do you have any board members with questions or comments? I have one. My question is, I have to find my notes here. So this is for the 2026 election. My question is, does everyone need to run again in 2026? Even those who are running this year? Because typically we've had sort of like a teeter-totter effect where we have 3, 1 every 2 years, then 2, so that we don't get a whole new board all at once. But what does this look like for here? How does that work?
So this will also be phased in. So you're right, there will not be an election for all 5 seats. So the same number of seats that would be up in 2026 will be up. That'll be the number of trustee areas that will be up. So for 2 years, from 2026 to 2028, you'll actually have a blended board.
Okay.
The members who are elected this year at large will still be at large, and then you'll have your trustee area members who were elected in 2026.
Okay. All right. Any other? Yeah, Stephen?
First, I want to say, as a social studies teacher that talked about gerrymandering, this is fascinating. It's so cool. Well, I guess my first kind of technical question is, I see that some of the census blocks are larger than others. Can you give me how are census block tracts determined?
Yeah. So good question, and happy to hear about the interest and enthusiasm in the project. So in an urban area, the census blocks are city blocks. So in the heart of the city, we'll have a census block for every city block, and obviously the number of people who live in each city block varies, so the numbers will change. When you get out to the edge of town, or along a freeway or a railroad, or in particular outside of town when you're in the rural areas, they get a little more random. The Census Bureau wants to follow streets as much as it possibly can, but it will also follow things like, rivers, ridge lines. In some areas, they're still using the lines from when they digitized old 1950s USGS maps. So it can be a little random out in the rural areas, but you do get a lot of very, very small, even zero population blocks out in the rural parts of town or in an industrial or commercial area as well.
Cool, thank you. And then secondly, so for the 2026 election, how or who will decide which 3 districts are up? If there's 5, then do we roll dice?
Yeah, no. So each draft map that you see will have a proposed sequence of which seats in that map would be up in 2026 and which seats would be up in 2028. That will be determined by legal counsel because, as I mentioned, I don't know where the board members live, but legal counsel does. And so if there's a seat in which there's only 1 board member, or if there's a seat in which there are 2 board members, but they're both up in the same year, then that seat gets elected to that board member's year. So if possible, we don't intentionally block someone from running for re-election. And so the legal counsel will compare the map after the map is drawn. Again, this does not influence the drawing of the map, but after the map is drawn, the legal counsel will put those years on there. If we end up with a mismatch year or with a vacant seat, something you all hear a lot, I'm sure every year, the ed code is a mess. So we used to have a very bizarre but consistent interpretation of the ed code, and so the legislature changed it and made it even more bizarre and removed that consistency. So we're looking at that, and if we run into that issue, we'll come back with more details on it. But hopefully the maps will fall out to where if there are board members put together in the same trustee area, they're both in the same election year, because that makes it very simple. The seat's just assigned to their year.
Okay.
I have some questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
In this election, we have 2 seats open, so that means the next one there'll be 3, correct? And our city went through districting not too long ago, but our city boundaries are different from the school district boundaries, and so I presume our boundaries, our districts, school districts will include that part of Contra Costa County. And is that why on this map you have part of Pleasanton? Is there a part of Pleasanton that's part of our school district?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, tiny little corner of it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just confirming that. Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah. One thing to note, if you did follow the city process, the rules, these bizarre, confusing rules for how the year is assigned to each trustee area is from the ed code. And so you'll see in this process how we go through it. If you talk to anyone from the city, it's much simpler for cities because they're not covered by the ed code. So which seats are up in which year is much more statutorily defined for schools than it is for cities. Just if you do hear from someone who says, what are you talking about? We didn't have to wrestle with that. It's because you're a school district.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that there's no further comments or questions. I'd like to thank Doug for coming, and I will close the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, yeah, good. Now we will move on to agenda item 9.2, and I'm going to invite Mr. Von Dragoo from the Quest Science Center to please come up, and whoever of his team that is also presenting, welcome up. Okay, good.
Board President Prusso. Oh,
I think, yeah, push your button. Maybe? Maybe the battery died.
There we go. Board President Prusso, trustees, Superintendent Gibson, and Cabinet, thank you for this evening. I'm just going to say a few words. I'm going to introduce two students, and they'll carry the bulk of the conversation. This effort started about 2 years ago, and the school district has been super supportive of these students in their climate summits and the climate work they've gone forward with. In fact, the school district was behind an award that they got with the Tri-Valley Innovation for their Risk Takers, Dream Makers thing, and we appreciate that as well. And we appreciate your participation in preparing this work for the resolution. I brought a couple of posters that I'd like to leave with you this evening. It tells a little bit of the story. It tells the story of a number of different projects that we've been working on. The most important thing here is that this is our student-driven activities. They take the bulk of the work, and they take on both the energy, the creative requirements, and just put themselves out there to do the work. For us to watch and be part of that is an inspiration. So I hope you come away with that inspiration as well. And we thank you for considering this resolution. Quest Science Center looks forward to participating should you adopt this resolution in terms of as a community involvement, and we can bring our expertise, our experience, and our community together along with the city and along with the school board. So we look forward to that. So I'm going to introduce Shrish Premkrishna and Thrak Shiram, and they will carry the bulk of the conversation this evening.
Welcome.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Prusso, members of the board, Superintendent Gibson, and Cabinet. My name is Shrish Premkrishna. I'm joined here today with Thrak Sriram, and today we're presenting to you a climate literacy resolution. Two students who couldn't make it today were Claire Gresham and Alexander Pepper. They're both freshmen in college now, but they're here in spirit, and they're very integral to this project.
So a little bit about why a resolution is needed. As future caretakers of our planet Earth, the youth of LVJUSD are increasingly concerned about the challenges faced from the impacts of climate change.
So, to be prepared for this uncertain future, students need to graduate as climate literate members of society. So what does that mean? 4 things. First, they should be well-rounded in the topics and manner of climate and environment. Second, they should be capable of holding critical and respectful conversations regarding climate change and the environment. Third, they should be capable of teaching climate change topics and applications. And finally, they should be capable of applying their knowledge and skills to real-world applications and decisions.
Students should also have a greater understanding that the sources of climate change, the actions needed to reduce greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the adaptation approaches that are just and equitable are of paramount importance for the students of Livermore.
So prioritization of K-12 climate change education will provide students the opportunity to create an educational environment that successfully prepares Livermore students for the climate change challenges ahead.
Thank you for your consideration of this resolution. Are there any questions?
First of all, I do have a blue card, so I'm going to invite Tricia Pontes. Did I say? Is she here? Oh, there she is. You guys just step to the side, but we're going to bring you back.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, members of the board, district staff, and the community. My name is Tricia Ponto. I'm the Sustainability Program Manager for the City of Livermore. I also went through the school district myself, Smith, Mendenhall, Granada. So I'm really excited to be here and support these students. I just want to begin by thanking you for considering this important resolution to improve climate literacy in our district. This initiative represents a critical step toward empowering our future leaders with the knowledge and tools they need to address the climate challenges that we face today. The City of Livermore has a climate action plan that outlines key strategies for reducing emissions and preparing our community for climate impacts. And the city is deeply committed to working alongside the school district to ensure students have opportunities to apply their learning in real-world, meaningful ways. We're already working with the student team on a number of exciting and impactful projects that have demonstrated the potential for our youth to drive meaningful change in our community. And so I'm going to share a couple of highlights about what they've been working on with us since last year's Livermore Youth Climate Summit. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. They've been very busy, but they came to City Hall and conducted a lighting efficiency study. They got to show Mayor John Marchand and City Manager Mariana Marisheva how to use infrared cameras to identify the inefficient light bulbs from the high efficiency light bulbs and help us identify areas where we can make improvements to our facility. They got to sit down with LPFD Fire Chief Joe Testa to discuss how climate change and extreme heat is impacting the way that we fight wildfires and respond to emergencies. They got to build custom mobile temperature sensors with a team at Quest Science to collect local data on urban heat islands. And they got to present that work to officials from the U.S. Department of Energy who came out to the city for a separate project. So these really, really cool opportunities that we've been able to collaborate with the students on. And these hands-on projects directly connect to our climate action plan, enriches their education, and contributes to our broader goals of making Livermore a healthier and more sustainable place to live. I just continue to be so impressed with the students and their commitment to our community, and I commend their leadership in advocating for climate education. And so I encourage the board to adopt the resolution this evening, and the city is ready to expand this collaboration with the school district on this important effort. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I have another blue card, Tara Boyce. Nope. There you go.
Okay, I was not planning on speaking. However, as a parent, so my name is Tara Boyce. I have a kindergarten and second grader at Junction. And I got a sneak peek of this about 4 weeks ago, and I could not be happier to see something like this coming not into the curriculum per se, into the conversation for my children. So my children have heard about this from the time they could speak. They've been composting. Every time we travel, we talk about it everywhere in the house, and it's part of our day-to-day. The kids need to hear it in school, understand the impact, because a lot of what climate change is our choices having impact on the earth. And doing this as part of school, part of the conversation, and it's beyond picking up litter at this point, right? Like when I was in elementary school, that was the big climate action, right? We went and picked up litter for 2 hours on a Saturday. We are so far beyond that. The earth needs us. They need our kids. And I'm just so pleased to see this. And I commend all the students who worked on this. I commend Quest for working so hard to get it passed. And as a parent, I just support this 2,000%. That's it.
Thank you. Could we have Shrish and Thurok come back? Thank you. All right. Any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Bueno.
No real question for you, gentlemen. Just simply an appreciation for what you guys are doing. It's difficult to get traction, and you guys have been able to get traction. You're working with Quest. And this is something that, it's going to be the issue that we all have to deal with. And so to be able to bring it into the schools and have it being brought in by our students, it's admirable. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Full support for you.
Trustee Wong.
I just want to thank both of you, and as well as Claire and Alex and the Quest Science mentors for this process that you've gone through. I know it's been a couple of years of all the work that you've done, and it's this is just one piece of it. And I've been able to be part of it in small ways, and just really am so inspired by what you all have accomplished in just a short time. So thank you so much.
I know you guys have been working on this for a while. I think that the public should know that they have taken this very seriously, and they've met with many of us and talked to us, and met with other people in the community, as we heard, people in the city, people at the schools, and obviously with the Quest Science Center behind them, really helping and to support them. I do have a question. Throughout this entire process, is there anything that surprised you about this process? Or what did you learn from this? Speak into the microphone. Turn it on. No red light? Hang on. No, we'll get you one. We probably have millions of people watching on TV, so we have to make sure that we can capture the audio. Those of us in the room can hear, but the millions of people at home watching, there you go.
Perfect. Okay. I think one thing that was pleasantly surprising for us was the support that we got from our district throughout this whole process. We didn't have to put up a fight. We didn't have to do anything. Their support was insane. We met with the board members. We got feedback. We met with the superintendent. It was a beautiful process, and it was really made easy for us. We just wanted to get this passed, but I mean, it was great. The support that we got really made it easy, and that's how we were able to do it in such a quick time frame. We couldn't have done it without you guys. So, yeah, that was surprising. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
You're making it seem really easy, but I know it wasn't as smooth as you're making it seem now, because you did really revise your plan as you went along, and you took in our input, and you met with a lot of us, some of us multiple times, and so this was a lot of work, and you're making it sound like it was really easy, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the reason why you're at this point and it feels like, we're successful and you did all that was because of all the work that you put behind it. And I think if anything, learning that you're prepared for this moment, I think that that's a good thing rather than rushing it out. And I know that you feel like you were really supported, and you are, but I think we threw some curveballs at you too that you had to work through. So I think that commends you both for doing that. And with that, I would entertain a motion.
I move in support of the superintendent's recommendation to adopt a resolution for climate literacy.
Second.
So we have a motion by Trustee Bueno, seconded by Trustee Wong. Any discussion on the motion? I'd ask Trustee Wong to take roll.
Trustee Bueno?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
President Prusso?
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's always great to see something that's student-driven get to this level. It's just really exciting for us. Hopefully it was just as exciting for the students. We're going to move on to our consent items. We have 15 consent items on the consent agenda this evening. Is there any board member who wishes to remove an item for separate discussion and approval? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move items 10.1 through 10.15 in their entirety.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Bueno, seconded by Trustee Druin. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'd ask the clerk to take roll.
Myself, aye. Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Trustee Bueno?
Aye.
President Prusso?
Aye. Those carry unanimously, 5-0. And then we have two resolutions on the agenda this evening. Resolution number 15 and 16-2425. Does any board member wish to remove one of these items for separate discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
President Prusso, I move that we adopt consent resolutions number 15-24/25 through 16-24-25 in their entirety.
I second.
I have a motion by Trustee Druin, seconded by Trustee Guzman. Any discussion on the motion? I ask the clerk to please take roll.
Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Trustee Bueno?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Prusso.
Aye. The resolutions passed unanimously, and we're going to move on to board member reports, and I will start with Trustee Bueno.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to report on anything other than in 21 days we have a national, state, and local election. And if you can see, it's interesting when we looked at some of the demographic information, the amount of people that are in Livermore, the amount of people that are registered to vote, and then the turnout. I would encourage everyone to exercise their right to vote. We're very privileged, and a lot of people fought real hard so that we could have these rights. And so I would encourage everyone, however you're going to vote.
Thank you. Trustee Wong.
And on that note, last night at Granada High School, the IB students and their teacher, our teacher librarian, Adair Spence, hosted a Get to Know Your Candidates night, and they invited all school board and city council candidates there and also went over the propositions on the ballot. It was great. They did a really great job, so I want to thank them for that. And I also got to sit in on part of the high school schedule committee meeting, was very impressed by all the discussions and all the people involved, and I'm certain that will come to a very productive conclusion. And then I just wanted to report on two upcoming things. Friday is the middle school cross-country championships. Very exciting. Come out and cheer for your favorite middle school team. And Saturday is Livermore Pride Fest at Bankhead Plaza from 12 to 6 p.m.
Trustee Druin.
Thank you. Let's see. I've met with several community and stakeholder groups over the last 2 weeks. And that's most of what I've been doing. But tomorrow I will be attending the Joe Mitchell Fun Run, where they'll be running to raise funds for the school. Friday I'm going to be attending the Fall Fest at East Avenue, and I'm uncertain if I will go through the haunted house. We'll see. Tomorrow's also Unity Day, as I think has been mentioned, where community members are encouraged to wear and share orange as a visible message of building community through kindness, acceptance, and inclusion to prevent bullying. And then lastly, Superintendent Gibson, SEIU President Governor, said that they had met the requirements regarding sunshining. And I was wondering if either you could provide some clarification now, or if you could give us, a request would be to clarify that process, because my understanding is that they have not met the requirement for sunshining. So I'm a little confused that she had said that they had met the...
Sure. So through the law states that when an organization is going to bargain any topics, there's rules around. They have health and welfare. They get to bargain each year, and then each contract spells out the additional language around what additional articles a union can sunshine. Sunshining is where one side sends the other side a letter that says these are the articles that we wish to open for this particular year. When it's not what's called a successor contract, and that is when the contract is just about to expire, the entire article or the entire contract then is open. So you have 2 years of this sunshining process, and then 1 year usually if it's a 3-year contract where it's a successor, and then we just list all the contracts and then we just start going through them one at a time. So we are not in a successor year contract currently, and we are clear on the 2 items that are monetary. We're very clear on those. Those are really clearly spelled out. Then it was stated that they were going to choose 2 non-monetary items, which they have the right to do. And we are simply just waiting to hear in writing what those 2 are so that we can bring those to the board. Per the law, the community has the right to know what is being negotiated at the table via the article contracts themselves. We're ready to sit and have that conversation with SEIU as soon as we have a simple email would be fine, just stating these are the 2 articles that are non-monetary. We'll put it on the very next board packet, and then the very next day we can start negotiating those items as well.
So just for my benefit, to be clear, SEIU has not met the legal threshold on the sunshine.
Correct. And we have run this through legal counsel. Our legal counsel has reached out to their legal counsel. I have spoken with higher ups in SEIU so that we can find a common ground. And that person and I had decided, let's have our legal counsels talk, have them give us direction because we didn't agree on the process. And we are still waiting to hear back from SEIU legal counsel at this time.
Okay.
Again, to clarify, we can't direct you to negotiate until we know what those 2, until we're informed via writing from SEIU. These are the 2 non-monetary, what do you call it? Non-monetary articles
Yes.
that they would like to negotiate.
Correct. We would be violating the law if we allowed that to happen. Because what could happen is we could say, okay, we'll go ahead, we'll bend the rules, we'll move forward, we'll have this conversation, we'll negotiate these articles, and then a year from now, unbeknownst to all of us, somebody new could come in and say, well, wait a minute, what you negotiated wasn't legal, it wasn't actually sunshine, the board didn't approve it, the community wasn't aware of those topics that you were going to have the discussion about and negotiate, which would then negate the whole process.
Okay. So it's I don't want to say, it's kind of a technicality, that there's a threshold that has to be met so that we can move forward.
Correct. Simple
Okay.
email and we're ready to go.
Okay. It's just, yeah, I'm glad that we clarified it because it's an indicator, being on the board for 10 years, when multiple people from any of the bargaining group show up in the manner that they do, it's concerning. So I don't know if there's a misunderstanding or something, but I hope that we get it clarified because one thing that I know in this district that holds very high value is the relationship with the 1,600 employees that we have here and the way that they can take care of the kids. We can't meet our mission without our people. So I want to make sure that we don't do anything to compromise the relationship with the people that work here. And I think this sounds like it's a misunderstanding. I'm hoping that we can get it cleared up quickly so we can move forward.
Correct.
Trustee Guzman.
Yes. So last Thursday was World Mental Health Day. I was made aware of it in the afternoon, but I bring this up because our schools have wellness centers and counselors, and actually last Thursday, I don't know, my child we were able to use those resources. So if you haven't done so, and I want to thank Ms. Mackey and Ms. W. at Joe Mitchell. They did a phenomenal job showing compassion and empathy. And then I had my own little private tour of the Wellness Center, but just want to remind families out there that these are available at our campuses. Please tap into them when they just need a break to self-regulate and go back into their daily days. So look into them if you haven't done so, and that's about it.
Thank you. So last week, I was able to attend the Alameda County Teacher of the Year Awards. Our teacher, Dana Albaraz from Lawrence Elementary, was nominated, and it was just an amazing, exciting event. And she is an amazing teacher, so it was well deserved. Also, I was able to attend much of the high school schedule committee. Like everyone has said, for me, it was very exciting to just listen to the teachers kind of work out what they want, and just seeing trends continue to come up and see that they were a lot in agreement of what they're looking for, and also was really heartening for them, not that they wouldn't, but to just see how much of the students' schedule in mind and how it would affect the students as well. So that was really great to experience. And as Trustee Wong said, I think we're going to be able to get to a conclusion that will be beneficial for our teachers and our students and our whole community. Also experienced homecoming at Livermore High School, which was really fun. I got to go to the game. And I know that the dance was a success, except that I believe the air conditioning was out in the gym, so
It was.
a lot of sweating. Yeah,
It was hot.
really sweaty. But I think the kids didn't care. They had a great time. And then also today, I had an opportunity to, I'm also on the Tri-Valley ROP board, and we had a delegation that came from the state to come and visit our ROP program. Our superintendent, Julie Duncan, she is an advocate for ROP. She goes and speaks to Congress, our state Congress, lots of times. She's amazing that way, the way that she advocates for funding and the way that she advocates for our career tech education. And because of the many times that she has been at the Capitol, they asked if they could come and have a tour of our ROPs. So we had people here from the governor's office. We had people here from the Department of Finance, and and also from our senator's education committee. And it was really exciting for them to come. We went to Livermore High School to Randy's class, our automotive tech and our automotive classes, and got to watch the kids working on their cars. And it was really great for them to come to that. They also went to Middle College and spent some time on the Las Positas campus with our Middle College students, which is also part of our ROP. So it was really exciting because I think Julie has really done so much work to get sort of equal and fair funding for our career tech students, and that is really important. And one of the Tri-Valley ROP, our motto is careers by choice, not by chance. And I really believe in that. And I think that these students should have an opportunity to choose a career that is going to be so beneficial to them. And not everyone is made for college. And I really love that in this district and in this valley, we really support that and we recognize that. And we have people like Julie Duncan who really advocate for that at the state level. And the funding that she has been able to get is really incredible. So it was really exciting to be there with those people. They were very impressed, and they're the people who fight for the money. So it was exciting for them to be there and actually see the students. Our superintendent was there. Our principal, Roxana Mohammed, was there as well as Jason Krolikowski. So we had people there represented from the district. So anyway, I just wanted to shine a light on that a little bit as well, and just super grateful for all of our career tech teachers in the district and throughout the valley, where our students have opportunity to take many classes, and they have we have a lot of industry partners as well that really support us in that. So that's my report. And I'll turn the time over to Dr. Gibson.
Thank you. Well, a lot of my report has already been reported multiple times, so I'll skim over a little bit of it to not belabor the point. But I was really excited about the high school committee meeting. I really want to thank the staff that participated, and Tara and Amy for helping us put that group together. It was completely teacher-driven as to who participated. And it was such a great day to be able to sit with a large group of teachers. I made it very clear to the group that they are the decision makers. I am just the facilitator. My role is to simply help keep us coloring within the lines, if you will, so that we are legally compliant, and then to provide whatever data they need along the way, which they have asked for pretty much every day, and we have pretty much provided it, I think, almost every day. So it's fun just to watch the wheels turn with all of them, and I'm really excited for the next meeting. After we have the next committee meeting, once we get to the point where we are ready to move forward, I have asked that they will then choose from that room to do a formal presentation to the board and the community as to their recommendation. So we're excited about that. We also had, in the last 2 weeks, we had a PCIC meeting, which was fantastic. We had Granada Bingo presenting, and that was fun. I got to learn quite a bit about how that whole process works. So fantastic. We also shared out from each site as to what's happening at the schools and all their activities, and just really shared some really great ideas. We had a pretty robust conversation about the by-trustee area process as well, which was really great to get them involved. I'll be attending DLAC next week to have that same conversation. On Friday, we have the Great America Shakeout, which is always a ton of fun. We've been going through training here at the district office so that we are prepared for that, for all of the roles that we play depending on our job duties. Last night, I attended the city council meeting where the district was presented a proclamation from the city council for October being anti-bullying week. It was a great time to meet the council members and to accept that on behalf of the district. Like President Peruso discussed, today was a really wonderful event at Livermore High School to just see the students. My brother was a huge CTE kid. It wasn't CTE then, but he was a welder by trade and took auto shop and welding, and I was in the complete opposite side of the world of the campus. But so I have a huge heart for our FFA and those just equally as I do for all of our high-level academics. I believe that every student has that option as well. And for some, it's an option at the moment, and they always have an opportunity to change that throughout their life if they choose. But for some, it's a great entryway into a pathway. And then Unity Week, as you all know, is this week, and tomorrow we'll be wearing our orange T-shirts, and we plan to get a large district office photo here, and we're excited for all the different festivities. So I think that's it. And then Thursday we have our special workshop where we will be having some great, robust conversations around the template for our school sites that we'll be using to move us forward for our data conversations around special education, EL, and I also added onto that suspension rates. We found some correlational data that I think is very interesting that we have opted to add. So we'll provide that. We will also have our second public hearing, and then a couple other minor items just to review. And I think those are all the updates I have for tonight.
Thank you. So this meeting is now adjourned at 8:37 p.m.